Welcome to the Femalepreneur Coach podcast. I am your host, Rebecca Barr. I am a transformational mindset and business coach and six-figure award-winning female entrepreneur. Ladies, I'm here to tell you that business and making money doesn't have to be hard when you're in alignment and flow. Inside this podcast, I will be showing you how to transform your mindset to program it for success, how to maximize your money vibrations, and how to redesign your business for ultimate financial and time freedom. You know you are meant to live an epic life. Now it's time to claim it. Hi ladies, so in this module, this is like a bonus module for me. It's not even a module, it's just a riff on mastering the art of receiving when you want to manifest more money. And for me, this has been where my growth has been as a woman in receiving and holding on to more money. It's really been mastering the art of receiving and holding on to experiences in life, because ultimately it's not about the money, right? It's the freedom that it gives us, it's the experiences that we want to create, and it's the emotions that we want to feel when we think about manifesting more money in this dream life and all the things. But the reality is, you sometimes, and I wanted to kind of build on the work that I did around the future self and stepping into that future version of you. The reality is that version of you who we are putting on a pedestal right now, that it's going to be like this point down the line, when I've got all my ducks in a row, when I've got all my shizzle together as a woman, when I'm suddenly like more accomplished, more organized, more like the, X, Y, Z, like all of these things that we love to put on ourselves as this future version of ourselves, then I will be able to like really become that vibrational match to having more money. The reality is, as I've said before in the other module, like you're not going to wake up one day and suddenly be Beyonce. Like it's a process of evolution. It's a process of like daily incremental steps that are going to get you to that version of yourself. And it really comes from grounding in the now. And one thing that I really struggled with, and I know a lot of women struggle, is all of the hats that we love to wear and the labels that we love to adopt as part of our identity that really stop us from receiving and receiving anything, receiving support, receiving money, a compliment, help, and really receiving pleasure and joy, because every part of us up until that point is conditioning us to be a martyr, to take up as little space as possible in this world, to work with as little as possible. We love to almost wear with a badge of honor how little we have, needed any help or support in anything, like genuinely I'm thinking of lots of different examples. Like as a single parent, I love to wear the hat of, and I do this and I take my kids abroad and I work really hard and I'm working 2 jobs and I'm doing this and this, and I get very little support from family and I get very little support from my ex-partner at the time. And it was like I kind of wore that as a badge of honor, like earning my stripes as a single mom, because God forbid that it got to be easy, because then I haven't really done my time as a single mom. I really glamorize the struggle and the journey. And equally as an entrepreneur, I've worked super, super hard in my business, and I really bought into this hustle mindset and this hashtag boss babe thing where it was like, be the hardest working person in any room, grind while they sleep. And I was making everything so much harder than it needed to do. And I really glamorized the fact, and it's probably from a place of self-preservation, because the work still needed to be done, but did I actually become a martyr and make it harder than it needed to be? Absolutely. Did I work on a Saturday when I didn't necessarily need to, because I wanted to show that I was earning my stripes, I was doing my time, I was willing to sacrifice for what I wanted. And then equally, at home and stuff with the kids, at work, it would be like, I don't need any help, I'm good, don't worry about it. Equally, when I went for coffee with friends, I'm a fierce, independent woman. So it's like on a date, I wouldn't allow a man to pay for me, because then you owe them something. I would be the first to pay for any coffee, family meals, nights out, all of the things, just to prove that I could, because I was always very much in that proving energy, that push energy. I'm going to get whatever I want at all costs, and I'm not going to rely on anybody else. God forbid somebody else would shortcut my success. And for me, It was connecting the dots on that and realizing that how you do one thing in life is how you do everything. And actually, I was becoming a bit of a martyr. I was making it harder than it needed to be. This was buying into the labels that I put on myself and the beliefs that I had attached with, needing help. Obviously that had, it was like a trauma response, right? Because when I was a kid, I never had anybody. Growing up, I didn't have parents in the traditional sense. My dad had passed, my stepdad was a monster, and my mum was very much on her own journey and not really taking that maternal role in my life where she was somebody that I could go to or rely to. If anything, I had to pay her money. I had to bail her out of problems. I had to bear the brunt of like very heavy topics at a young age because she wasn't emotionally strong enough to do it. So I had just adopted this like warrior mindset where I don't need anybody in life. And therefore, how that started to play out as an adult was that money was hard. I was negating the quick wins, the easy wins, because I didn't feel like I'd earned it. I was very much over investing. I was in push energy, making things happen when maybe they weren't meant to happen, but rather than taking that, I was very much attached to the outcome. I was very much like, if I want it to happen, I will make it happen, and I can only rely on me to do it. And I was just making it so much harder than it needed to be. I was negating the beauty of allowing myself to receive in the moment and enjoy the journey. It was very much like the next 30 days, the next 60 days, the next 90-day goals, and just very much attached to the pain of really sacrificing and proving your worth and all of the things in order to receive what you wanted. And even relationships and stuff, I would see it very much like, if we're constantly arguing and things are difficult, it's just showing that it's because we really want to be together. And if we didn't want to be together, then we would have left because that would be easy. And it's like, I just really had such a toxic masculinity identity, and it was from self-preservation. It was a trauma response from being a kid and never having anything easy, that I then felt like I needed to work super hard, and not everybody was built for it in all of the things. And it wasn't until I really did this work and connected those dots that I started to realize and really lean back, and sort of look at things more objectively and realize that not everything was meant for me. Not everything had to be a struggle. Not everything had to be a fight. It's okay for things to be easy. It's okay to be in receipt. It's okay to be supported. And that really enabled me to quantum leap my growth in business, because the reality is, nobody really gets there alone. Nobody really gets to those high income months completely alone. And if they do, they're burnt out and exhausted, and probably in that toxic masculine state like I was, where it was like, I've got to prove it. The reality is, no one is taking school and giving you a medal, where it's like, well done. You are the biggest martyr in the land. You deserve this more than anybody. So you get to have more success than anybody. It was like, no, girl, you've just made it harder than it needed to be. You've taken the long route and you've really sacrificed a lot of pleasure along the way. Who's winning in that scenario? Nobody. And that's what I wanted to talk about today, because I was kind of connecting the dots on this over the weekend. I was like, this needs to be in the boot camp, because as much as it is the strategy and it's the energy and manifestation principles and all of the things, it's also about the embodiment. Like, that is the biggest missing piece. It's the embodiment of your next level self that is ultimately going to get you there. And a lot of that growth for me and identity shifting has been in allowing myself to start to lean back and detach from the outcome, and detach from money being my safety in life. Actually, the only safety that I need in life is me, because I know that I'm going to make things happen regardless. And I've got that ability in me to pull things out the bag if I need to. But equally, like, I can choose to be happy right now. I can choose to be in receipt of the energy of money and these experiences that I want to cultivate from money right now. I don't need to put my happiness, my fulfillment, my opportunity to experience these things on something outside of myself. Money doesn't get to have that power over me anymore. I get to control the narrative. I get to control my life experiences now, and I get to be in receipt of pleasure now. And for me, what I realized just as an observation was that, and maybe you will want to do this as well, when you think about really wealthy people, and when you think about your next level, rich, bougie, Beyonce, badass version of yourself that has everything that you want, how does she operate and move? And I know that I've covered this a little bit in the future self module of the bootcamp, but let's like get into, just from a place of curiosity and people watching, like, how does she move about her day? I guarantee she is not rushing around. She is not under pressure and firefighting all day. She's in control. And that for me was the biggest aha moment, because especially as a manifesting generator and, having ADHD and just always being very high energy, my energy has always been very on the go, very now, can't wait for anything, like very much in the hustle mindset, which I think is why I just thrive so much as an entrepreneur, because it felt like, oh, I can use this energy that I've always had in my life, because if I'm happy to jump in the DMs or jump on a sales call, get out into the high street and give out leaflets, I get that dopamine hit and that reinforcement because, it's like anything, the law of averages say that if you're willing to knock on 100 doors, guess what? Couple of those are going to say yes, and you're going to get those yeses. And I was very much in that push energy, so I was getting that positive reinforcement that it's because I'm willing to go out and get the things that I want that is now coming back to me. The reality is it wasn't that at all. It was just like the law of average. Of course, if you put more energy flows where focus goes. So if you're putting more energy into doing these things, you're inevitably going to get something coming back to you. But did I need that push energy in order to get the thing? No, because it would have happened anyway. I was just forcing the outcome, and I was very much in this push energy. And when I realized that actually, when I think of that future self version of me, she talks very slowly. She's very calm and considered in her decision-making process. She's not allowing herself to be rushed when it comes to making a decision that feels right to her. She is not allowing people to steal her time and her energy because she's protective of her boundaries. She's not making impulsive, rash decisions. She's not rushing around all over the place. She's not serving 1,000 clients. She is not showing up haphazardly in 100 different places. Everything is very calm. It's very considered. It's very much coming from a place of empowerment. There is no, if I don't do this one thing, that's going to be the thing. And so I've got to do the thing. She's not coming from a place of fear. If it's not this opportunity, there'll be more coming, because she really embodies that abundance mindset, that there will always be more opportunities. There will always be more ways to make more money. There will always be more ways to have impact. And she gets to enjoy the journey. And that for me was probably the biggest shift in my money mindset that really enabled me to not only manifest more money, because I'd always been good at that. But it'd been like manic manifestations where it's like, when I was doing the things, when I was pushing, then I got that dopamine hit and that positive reinforcement, because then I would manifest more money, but then I get burnt out, I'm tired, and I couldn't sustain it. Or I could, but at the cost of other things, time with my kids and personal self-care and, all of the things. So actually, do I want to manifest like that? No, I want it to come from a place of gradual evolution, gradual growth. Like the better it gets, the better it gets. And I've talked a lot about this on my podcast. And what I love about this bootcamp is that it evolves. The principles are still the same, but the teachings and the embodiment evolve as I do. And that's what why I wanted to record this module today, because this is the piece that's missing. It's the embodiment. And for me, it was slowing down and allowing myself to experience more pleasure in the everyday, because the brain moves from pain and wants to move towards pleasure. So the more that you can give yourself pleasure along the way of the journey, to receiving what it is that you want, the more that you will continue to build that upward momentum and be able to compound and stack your success, rather than I did the thing, but it didn't feel good, and then retreat and then come back and and get into this feast and famine cycle in your business. This is where the better it gets, the better it gets, because not only do you then get to really anchor in that pleasure, but you're raising your vibrations as you're experiencing it. And then it just, success, money begets money. You just attract more of it because there's no resistance to receiving it. because you're enjoying the receiving of it, you know? So hopefully this makes sense. But this for me, like I say, was that missing piece. So that means, and equally it's saying to the universe that it's safe for you to receive and all the things. So when you think of the experiences that you want to create with when you have this money, like what does that really look like? And then how can you start to replicate and anchor in those experiences and those feelings of pleasure now? Because we want to attach that positive income to having money. And this is kind of taking what we did in the first few modules around understanding how we were self-sabotaging and energetically holding back from receiving money because we had those negative associations. This is part of that work in reprogramming and really anchoring in the pleasure part of receiving money. So for me, obviously now human design is one of the additional modalities that I use with my clients, and it's around, we have our energetic monopole, we have our energetic center where we draw in all of the things that we currently desire. The more that you can attach those positive, pleasurable outcomes with those desires, the more that you will become that energetic match to it and call it in. So part of this is anchoring in and using your senses. So we'll naturally have one sense that we feel is like our spidey sense. So for me, it's always been a sense of taste, because and I didn't realize until I really leaned into human design that this was symbolic in other ways. Like I'm always a person that's really appreciated like just a really great coffee and a really great meal. Like I've never been a good cook and I hold my hands up to that. I've never been a person that wants to invest lots of time in mastering cooking. I'm always a person that's multitasking, and I see it as like a bit of a waste of time, to be honest. And for me, but equally I'll go to a nice restaurant and I'll really appreciate it, and that will really anchor in those moments of abundance for me. And whenever I've wanted to manifest my next level, step into that next level self, it's always about my physical environment. Where can I put myself in a nice room with a nice meal and all of the things? So intuitively I've always had that. What is that sense for you? And I wanted to share with you a couple of ways that you can really start to anchor in those feelings of abundance and pleasure now to amplify your manifestations and call them in quicker, but not only call them in, become that vibrational match, because this is just your new way of being, right? You know, so hopefully it will make sense. So if your spidey sense is sound, like what are the songs that really get you going? The songs that really make you feel like a bad bitch, that make you feel really high vibe, that really make you feel abundant and bougie and empowered and just excited by life, that, or maybe they're the ones that really get you stopping and thinking, and really grounding and being really grateful for the abundance that is surrounding you. You know, this could be both ends of the spectrum, but maybe there is an opportunity to create a killer playlist that you can put on your phone. You can listen to it on your commute, at the gym, on your way to work. Maybe it's an uplifting podcast. You know, maybe it's an audio book that really connects you with like that just next level self, that anything is possible mindset. Maybe it's I would love for you to create that for yourself right now, to really invoke all of the senses. Maybe from it's smell that does it for you. So for me, like I have a perfume, and this is an NLP exercise too, but we can anchor in experiences through smells. And it might be that, you know, you listen to a song and it takes you back to a moment in your childhood where you were like, yes, night out with the girls felt amazing. I had that this weekend, going back to like my garage days and listening to that reminded me of some really incredible, like anything is possible moment, like one particular night in London where I just felt on top of the world, and it was like, yes, that was like such an incredible moment for me, and it was anchored in by that song. But equally it can be smell. So I've got a particular perfume that I wear, and when I wear it, that's like my power perfume. That's when I'm going somewhere, when I'm recording and I just want to anchor in that real like boss energy, I'll wear that perfume. Maybe that's it for you. Touch, maybe you're a very tactile person, and for you it could be, you know, just the feeling of having lots of money in your purse. You know, maybe you want that physical feeling. Maybe it is the feel of, you know, the leather in an expensive car. Maybe go and test drive a car this weekend. Maybe it's like having expensive fabrics, and rather than wearing like cheap, affordable, fast fashion, it's, you know, really like having a skirt or a top or a jumper. Maybe it's maybe not fur, but maybe it's like, you know, what's it like? I want to. What is that fabric? cashmere. Like maybe it's something I'm like, what is it? Maybe it's something like that, or just a really luxurious, indulgent bedding that you get in and you're like, oh yes, this feels completely over the top and bougie, and I'm totally here for it. What is that for you? Maybe it's taste. So I just did a human design reading for a client at the last week, and her sense was taste. So this is twofold. It could be physical and literal taste. So I bought her like some really expensive, obnoxiously overpriced chocolates that really would give her that feeling of like, oh, I'm going to sit here and savor every chocolate. They're not meant to be consumed at lightning speed and just like before you know it, you've eaten the whole box. They are very indulgent, very rich. They're meant to be enjoyed. Um, and like, you know, savored and all the things. Maybe it's a glass of like really beautiful champagne for you. Maybe it is going to an expensive restaurant and having a nice steak. And I always talk about when I was pregnant, my taste was next level. I would literally travel the lengths of the earth for something when I was really craving it. And one of those things was going to Harrods in London and having a really nice steak. And the meal and the whole experience was so over the top and so overpriced, but where I was pregnant and just in the moment, that really anchored in like just, oh, I've never been able to beat that steak. It was so fantastic, probably very anemic at the time. And it was just all of the things, but it was just amazing. And I can anchor in that moment and return to it and just get all of those feels of like, yes, I've made it. So it's that, but it's also as taste being one of your spidey senses, also about cultivating your taste in the things that you like, you know, and not putting up with the things that you don't like. It's about, yeah, I really respect and admire that brand, so I'm going to pay a little bit more for it, and that's going to be my thing. I'm not going to endorse this thing over here. I'm not going to recommend it to anybody because that's not my taste. And then the final thing is like sight. So if you are a very visual person, it's and it may be that you're eliminating those scarcity signals in your immediate environment. Maybe it's about up leveling your workspace so that when you are in the mindset of working and getting in, you know, on your laptop and all the things, you're not juggling a laptop on your knees in the living room. You are in a really beautiful space, even if it's just a corner of your room, which for me, for a long time it was. And I had a beautiful backdrop and I had a nice little desk and I had my little pictures and, you know, abundance candles and saged the, you know, the space and all of the things to connect me with this badass version of myself before I even had it, you know? So maybe that is for you, or maybe it's having a vision board and very clear visual representations of the experiences that you want to cultivate when you have this money. You know, how can you connect with that daily through vision boarding? And I'd love for you to do some of these things. So something that will connect with sound, smell, taste, touch, and sight would be really powerful in embodying that next level version. And also thinking like, how can I create more pleasure in my everyday experiences right now? So rather than drinking a coffee on the go, getting like the cheapest one that's there, throwing it down your neck and just getting out the door, maybe it's actually, I'm going to slow down. If I'm going to have a coffee, I'm going to get up 15 minutes early and I'm going to really savor that coffee. I'm going to sit with it. I'm going to sit with my journal. I'm going to really appreciate this moment. And I'm not going to allow myself to be rushed. I'm going to buy a slightly nicer coffee. Maybe I won't drink as much, but I'll do it with more intention. And I'm just going to really enjoy it. And I'm not going to allow the kids or anybody else to take me off track. I'm just going to have my moment and slow down. Maybe it's I'm going to take the longer way to work, or I'm going to start walking, and I'm going to use that opportunity to really like listen to my audiobooks, the things that I say I never have time for. I'm going to walk a bit slower. I'm going to do it with more intention, and I'm going to take out a few things in my diary to create some space to do it. You know, that is ultimately how you move closer to that next level self version of you. It is not, you know, you're going to wake up as Beyonce and suddenly become a different person. It's about inviting more pleasure right now in the everyday. It's about slowing down and receiving and evoking all of your senses that you can be her now. You know, nothing outside of yourself really should have this level of control over you. You get to decide and experience and embody that version of you now. So I'd love for you to, you know, start leaning in and take this as an invitation to invite more pleasure and slow down in your life right now so that you can embody that next level version of self, so that you can enjoy those experiences right now, so that you can connect the dots between those self-sabotaging patterns, and so that you can not only attract more wealth and opportunities, but also hold on to it and just allow the better it gets, the better it gets.
Thank you for listening to this episode. It's been amazing to share this time with you, and I feel honoured to be part of your journey. If you've loved what you've heard, had an aha moment, or found value in this episode, then please do like, comment and share. I would love to connect with you on Instagram and Facebook, so come and find me, and I look forward to helping you build your epic life.